MyFantasySportsTalk.com.
Last week on My Fantasy Podcast.
Did it come out the way you thought it would?
Obviously not. If you, that's a dumb question, Brandon. Getting on my nerves very early. Oh, man. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I respect the legacies that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have. And I was rooting for them. My bank account was rooting for them. So obviously I'm not happy with the outcome. Dumb question. Next.
But you should have known when I picked the Patriots to flip your bets immediately.
So you screwed me is what you're saying.
I tried to tell you. You got a new beautiful backdrop this week. I love it. You got the brick wall back there.
I'm actually at a friend's right now. So I'm at a different place just for this week. So, as soon as I turned it on, I was like, man, someone's going to notice the backdrop. So, yeah.
It's beautiful. You got like antique vases back there and all kinds of things. See, that's the commitment to the podcast I'm talking about right there. No matter where he's at, no matter what's happening, he's going to turn on his phone, laptop, iPad, whatever, to connect with you guys on My Fantasy Podcast. That's dedication. That's what I love. Hey, podcast peeps. How you doing? Glad you're back. Sorry we missed you last week, but we thought we'd take some time off and let you have Valentine's Day to yourself. I hope you got it on, you know what I mean? I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Reed. Glad you're back with us. My other host, Dan Shaw, he was off for Valentine's Day too, but Dan, from what it sounds like, you did not get it on. That Buffalo weather will kill you, man.
For the second time this season, I have gotten the flu, and it's legit out here. It's legit all over the country. And Valentine's Day, I was stuck to my couch, sweating off a 102-degree fever with my dog, and my fiance was not a huge fan. But she did help take care of me and get me back to the health where I am able to do the show this week. It's a good thing we were off last week because I would have been no part of it.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound sexy to me, Dan. Just doesn't sound sexy to me at all.
I lost some weight. I lost a little bit of weight. I sweat it all off, so it worked out.
Yeah, I guess that's always a good thing. But folks are dying out here from the flu this year, Dan. You realize that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hit my family hard. I have a family member hospitalized, and it's definitely it's a dangerous thing. And I'm not one for the flu shot or anything like that. I've never gotten one, and dealing with it a couple times already this year, it makes me reconsider it a little bit.
Yeah, but the flu shot wasn't any damn good this year. It was only like
true.
Only like 30% of the vaccinations were even good, they said, this year. So I don't know that it does you any good. I'm with you, Dan. I never get the flu shot because they're actually injecting you with a strain of the flu virus to help build up your immunity for it. And I know so many people that get sick from getting the flu shot. Maybe not to the degree, but the flu shot originally was to keep you from dying back in the 20s. It's not going to prevent you from getting sick or getting the flu. It's just going to prevent you from dying from the flu. And now I don't even know that it's doing that.
Well, Dr. Reed, I take your advice, and I will not get it next year. Thank you.
Unless they come out with a super version 2.0, 2000s version of the flu shot. I just don't know that it's worth it. But thanks for joining us. We're all healthy and back now on the podcast. My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Appreciate you for joining us. In 2 weeks, a lot of stuff can happen in 2 weeks. So a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll start out talking about what's going on in just the world of sports, just the world in general. When we bring Orlando in here in just a second, definitely want to hit on that All-Star Weekend in case you saw it. Apparently, none of us sports guys did, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later. We'll talk some college basketball. We're getting down to it, Dan. Do you realize the regular season is almost over?
Yeah, counting down. Canisius, I've been going through their regular season, and they just lost a heartbreaker to Ryder. First place in the MAC was on the line, and there's only 1 or 2 games left, I think, in their regular season and their MAC conference championships, which I hopefully will be in attendance at in Albany, New York. Starts March 1st, which is next week.
Believe it or not, yes, it is. So we're wrapping that up. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown for today's show. Just general sports talk. We'll wrap up some news of the last 2 weeks to catch up on some things that we didn't get to talk about last week. NBA All-Star Weekend, of course. The Final Four predictions. We'll give you our way too early Final Four predictions. And answer those mailbag questions. Got a bunch of NFL mailbag questions this week as the NFL off-season is starting to heat up. And some just general mailbag questions before we get out of here. So all that and more on today's show is going to be hot. It's going to be entertaining. I can promise you that. So thanks for joining us once again. No matter how you join us again, what are we on, Dan? Stitcher, Spreaker, Sproken, iTunes, SoundCloud, WBLZ Sports, YouTube, Facebook, you name it.
Yeah, you got it. You got it all, I think. Maybe not. Not next week.
I doubt I did it. I didn't feel like I did.
Next week.
What's that?
We'll be somewhere else next week. So
yeah. So find us. I guess however you listen to media.
Well, if they're listening to this, they did find us. So thank
you. Yeah, and spread the word. So in case you got friends that are just really stubborn, and really stuck up about the way they listen to media, say, hey, you can find those guys there too. I did. So spread the word. But let's bring Orlando Torres in here, our man from San Ann. And Dan, I just got word, something you sent Orlando a little message about. Is this true or are you just poking fun? Because I didn't see this. But Kawhi Leonard done for the season?
Yeah. I mean, I don't spread fake news. So it is true. Pop came out and said he will be very surprised if Kawhi Leonard plays at all this season. So I take that as he's not going to play this season. I mean, Pop's not one for press conferences, but when he says something, I tend to believe it. And if you've seen supposedly how he hasn't come back with rehab and hasn't progressed the way the Spurs would like. I mean, they know they're not beating the Warriors, even if Kawhi is healthy this year, playing however many limited games he's going to play. So I think it's a smart move to shut him down, and I'm sure when Orlando comes in, I'd love to hear a San Antonio Spurs fans' take on it, whether they think it is the right thing, because, those hometown fans could just want them to try and go for it. And Orlando thinks the Spurs have a chance every year too, so you never know.
Well, surprisingly, though, they're holding down that third seed in the West.
They're a great regular season team, and they even do well sometimes in the playoffs. But I think we can all agree. I mean, they're not touching the Warriors, and I don't even think they're touching the Rockets. I think the Rockets would wipe them in a 7-game series pretty quickly.
I completely agree. I think Chris Paul would have his way with them this year. I really think that would have happened anyway if it came down to those two teams with a healthy Kawhi Leonard, although that's not going to happen. But I kind of have my doubts about whether Kawhi was going to play this year or not. We have not seen him. And Dan, it's almost March. We're after the All-Star break. We're over 50 games through the NBA season, and we haven't seen Kawhi Leonard. So I had my doubts of whether or not he was going to play at all. And we do have a mailbag question, which kind of ties into the Spurs a little bit. And now this news may help you sway that decision on this mailbag question one way or another. But it's a possibility.
Are you talking about the Fergie question?
No, no. We'll get to that. Part of NBA All-Star Weekend. Oh, man. But no, there's a mailbag question about a possible trade scenario, which ties in a San Antonio Spur. So now this particular San Antonio Spur is affected by the news that Kawhi Leonard is not going to play this year. So that will be big. Lots of mailbag questions, Dan. A whole lot of different variety of mailbag questions submitted by the readers at home. Now, we've got a good 4 solid NFL mailbag questions to get to. But other than that, we've got, let's see, I know we had baseball. We had Olympics. We had, let's see, what else? NBA, of course. Just a wide range here. So,
yeah. I mean, NFL never sleeps. I mean, I think that's one thing that everybody in America kind of loves about football is even though there's no games being played right now, this is the time of the NFL that I actually love the most. I love the lead up to the NFL draft and doing the prospects. We always have some draft questions. And then just regular offseason free agency trades that could happen. Players, where's Kirk Cousins going? I know that's a question that's out there this week. So yeah, we have it all. And then Olympics are hot right now. I've been catching a lot of them, trying to watch as many as I can. So I was glad to see that question there, and I look forward to answering and seeing your guys' thoughts on that question too.
Mine will be interesting. I promise you, my answer will be very interesting. You may not want to hear it. But all that. So let's just kind of get in while we're waiting on our man Orlando to jump in here. We got something that's really specific for you, Dan, in the world of sports. Let's just kind of talk about what's going on.
Here's what's happening.
So I saw today there's an Astros pitching prospect named Forrest Whitley who was suspended. Now, this is a young guy. He came up last year in low A ball, I heard, and made his way up to double A, I think. Did all right for a 20-year-old, but supposed to be a pretty hot prospect up in the up-and-coming ranks of the Astros, suspended 50 games. So I know you heard about this, Dan. Fill us in a little bit about that and what that means to the Astros. Is this a guy that the Astros are really depending on to be one of those guys in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, coming up, they don't need him this year, so this 50-game suspension to me isn't a huge deal. Forrest Whitley, he's the Astros' #1 overall prospect in their farm system, in the 10th overall in all of Major League Baseball. So I mean, he's legit. He's a guy that if you're looking at dynasty leagues or keeper leagues, like I'm actually currently doing a draft. It's a slow draft, so it takes place over time. But my pick is coming up during our podcast tonight, and I was actually considering taking Forrest Whitley. He's off my board now. I'm not going to take him, but he's a guy that can light it up in the future. The Astros are so deep right now with their pitching staff. I mean, they have 2 or 3 starters who could be starters on other teams who are going to be in their bullpen. Colin McHugh, Brad Peacock. You have Charlie Morton, who's probably going to have that 5th rotation spot. But, AJ Hinch is going to have his plethora of arms that he can go to this year. So Forrest Whitley probably wasn't going to see any big league action. And I don't know if you guys heard the scenario about it. Supposedly he was at a college baseball game and a friend gave him like an over-the-counter drug.
A Mickey?
Stay awake. Yes, a Mickey.
Slipped him a Mickey?
Does the opposite. And to allow him to stay awake during his drive home. So, it's if that's true, that circumstance I can kind of forgive even more as a fan. But I think he'll bounce back. He's definitely a promising guy. And then the next few years, he can come up through the Astros, or you never know, he could end up being a trade piece to acquire a big star near the trade deadline this year.
And so that's one of our other mailbag questions, which we'll get into, is fantasy baseball talk. Fantasy baseball sleepers this year. That's very interesting, Dan. I did a little bit of homework on this. But you're telling me you're multitasking right now. You were doing a live My Fantasy podcast and doing a live MLB fantasy draft at the same time?
Yeah. Keeper League I've been in. For those who are fantasy baseball guys, it's a 5 major league, 4 minor league keeper, head-to-head points, 12-team league, and we do a slow draft, so you get 2.5 hours to pick throughout the day. Clock stops basically at 8 p.m. at night, And I love it. To me, this is the most fun way you can have a draft because you're.
So how long does that take?
So it started on Saturday, and I have 6 picks left. So it goes, it's not too bad. But I just you're consumed with who are you going to take next, and sometimes it gets a little frustrating because you're waiting on guys that wait the whole 2.5 hours, and once it's my pick, I'm jumping on it. So. Yes, I am actually on deck. So there will be a pick made during this draft. So if you see me just kind of go, yeah, I got my guy or something like that, it's because, I did. Although I'm still not sure who I'm going to pick yet. So stay tuned.
Okay, so you're on deck. So you're waiting on the guy prior to you to make his selection.
Yes, and he has 2 hours and 22 minutes left to make that pick.
Yeah, we may not even hear about that.
He's gonna pick. He will. I have confidence in him. Wu-Tang Forever is his team name, so Wu-Tang.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like someone who's taking his time right there. Okay, so yeah, fantasy baseball coming up. We'll talk about that, which I got to ask you, Dan, when is our draft going to be? Because we got an MFST Fantasy Baseball League, and I mean, we're running out of time here. We basically got right at a month to do it. I don't know what time of the year we did it last year, but it's coming up soon. We're going to have to do that, squeeze that in.
Yeah, I will. I'll get working on that tomorrow, sir, and you'll be the first to know.
A little disappointed about the way things happened last year. Not just for me, for your sake too. Nobody from the MFST crew took home the title, and it was looking like it was going to be me and you for a long ways there. And if I'd have won my first ever title ever playing fantasy baseball, Dan, you would have never heard the end of that. Never, ever, ever.
It would have been impressive. I was rooting for you. I wanted us to continue our championship run that we've had, but it looks like, I mean, it's Dan carrying the torch in basketball again. Last year's champ is going to repeat, and I'm going to take baseball. I mean, we all knew the dominance that was throughout the baseball regular season, so I expect that to continue this year. So pay attention when I go over my baseball sleepers in the mailbag later on, Brandon. You might pick up a few tips, hints, tricks, shortcuts,
trinkets.
Yeah.
Okay, don't you worry about that. And I'm not convinced you got basketball wrapped up at all. It may not be me, but I don't know, man. Should have dealt Tyreke for a little bit less than you were trying to get from him.
He's coming back. I'm glad he's staying with Memphis. That's where his most production is at, isn't it?
You don't understand. Memphis ain't going to play him. That's what the fans were so upset about by not moving him, because this is the theory of Memphis fans. Okay, this is not my theory in my rash thought process, but this is the Memphis fans. Most of the Memphis media were all over the Grizzlies for not trading Tyreke Evans because, number one, well, they thought you can get something for him. He's bouncing. Well, maybe. Maybe he is, but to me, I'd rather take the chance of trying to keep Tyreke. Maybe he gives a hometown discount, so to speak, and likes being in Memphis, and maybe we can sign him for a mid-level exception or work out a contract with him. And that's what Chris Wallace, the GM, even came out and said. I said, we would like to keep Tyreke here. We'll deal with that in the offseason and do what we can. But do you remember Jordan Adams, Dan?
UCLA guard?
I'm surprised. You just threw my argument way out the window because you even knew who he was. I expected you to say, no, never heard of him. Well, yeah, that was one of the Grizzlies picks. Now he's out of the league. Never worked out. And that was a second-round pick. So would you rather have Tyreke or another Jordan Adams was my argument. I think I'd rather take a chance of keeping Tyreke. And as far as the case of them not winning games or winning too many games with Tyreke on the floor, they had the second worst record in the NBA at the All-Star break with Tyreke. Now they know they need to tank. What makes you think they're going to go on a winning streak all of a sudden? You got 6 teams right now that are at the bottom of the NBA with 18 wins. Memphis Grizzlies are one of them. They'll find ways to lose games, folks. That's an absurd reason to deal Tyreke, the best player you have on your team right now, is because you want to lose games. It's absurd. It's absurd. But anyway, hey, sticking with the NBA, Dan, did you hear about all the stuff going on with the Mavericks right now? Of course, when Mark Cuban's got his hands full right now with the sexual misconduct misconduct allegations going in around the front office, the business side of things, and then him coming out and saying, and basically having a meeting with his team and saying, hey, look, chill out, guys. We're not trying to win nothing this year, which of course a lot of teams do. The Grizzlies really should be having that mindset right now. Phoenix, a whole group of teams, but you just don't come out and publicly say it. And therefore, Adam Silver fined him $600,000 today.
Yeah, when I first got the update about the assault allegations or misconduct within the front office, my first thought went immediately to Donald Sterling. Is Mark Cuban going to be the next owner kind of pushed out of the NBA? I don't think that's going to happen from what I've kind of heard so far. But it definitely is somewhat disturbing. I'm sure more of a investigation is about to take place. When it comes to the tampering, I mean, that's Mark Cuban. I love his honesty. I respect Mark Cuban a lot as an owner. If I was a player, if I was a fan, looking for a team, that's the type of owner that I would like to run my franchise, because he's going to do whatever it takes to win. And that sounds funny to say, but that's what he's ultimately doing. Is he knows he needs to lose. This is a stacked draft coming up. You have a player in the draft who's already better than Steph Curry. So I mean, you can just skyrocket your team with this draft if you get the right player. So I respect him for saying it. It's kind of Mark Cuban being Mark Cuban in my eyes. $600K is money I'll probably never see, but for Mark Cuban, he can drop it at a dime, so it's probably not too much off his back.
It's still a pretty substantial amount where Adam Silver was trying to send a message. I mean, 'cause that's over $500,000.
Yeah, and he's Magic Johnson has been fined multiple times, and a couple of them were very small compared to what Cuban just got with that $600K.
Yeah, that is a lot. So, but I agree with you. I like a guy speak his mind. That's their business, but it does look bad upon the league. But what do you do? I mean, honestly, if you're a Grizzlies fan right now, why are you buying tickets to these games? So, and as a fan, as a supporter of that team, I don't want to see any team lose money or the franchise lose money. But as a fan also, and as a realist, I'm saying, why would you buy a ticket to go see the Grizzlies the rest of the season? Seriously, Cleveland's coming to town Friday night. I don't know, maybe you want to see LeBron, little things here and there, but and especially if you're Dallas, why would you want to go see the Dallas Mavericks play? I don't know. So, yeah, but just a weird stuff. And Robert Pera's company, I forgot the name of it offhand, but his .com startup, his company's being invested by the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission right now as well. So Robert Pera's in a little bit of hot water. Did you hear about that?
I did not, but it's all a Justin Timberlake conspiracy.
You can't put everything on Timberlake. You gonna put Fergie on Timberlake too? Huh? Was that Timberlake's fault about Fergie?
I'm not putting that on anybody. That was scary.
Okay, well, I don't know what's going on with Orlando, man. We thought he would jump in here. Hadn't heard from him.
No. Thanks, Orlando.
We'll see if he jumps in. But we got some more news to talk about. We'll go on with that. So also, real quickly, Dan, you probably saw that Louisville was stripped of their 2013 title. This kind of hits home to me, although not quite the same circumstance. But they were stripped of their title from 2013 when they beat Michigan. And I think it's a little unfair because for all the players, they did nothing. These are mostly adults within the organization that were accused of the hookers, and whatever else happened on that campus. But the players, and plus none of these players honestly went to Louisville because they're getting hookers. Okay, let's face it. These guys were stars, super studs, probably since 14, 15 years old. Freshmen, sophomores in high school. Okay, they had no problems getting girls. They definitely wouldn't have any problems getting girls on a college campus like Louisville. I don't know if you've seen the women at Louisville, Dan, but the Louisville's got some hot women. Just say that they're tops in the country as far as hot women on the campus of your college. Louisville's got it. So the players were innocent in all this. So you strip their title away, in which I kind of. It hits home to me because, Memphis got their runner-up taken away from 2008. But to me, I have to kind of look back, and I would feel the same way if I'm Louisville or Louisville's fan base. It means nothing. You can't take away the memories. I got the games on VHS tape from 2008 that still happen. You can't take away those memories. And You can't just have a vacated. If you look at the record books where you just did 2013 not exist, Michigan doesn't all of a sudden become national champs, just like, what was it, USC in 2001, 2002, the Reggie Bush thing. There's an asterisk there, but they're still champions. They were still champions. Make no mistake about it, they're still champions. So I think this is a little unfair to strip the national championship. If you want to impose penalties, impose fines, maybe make the program suffer from, for the next little bit, that's fine. But stripping a national championship is a huge thing, and just kind of the structure of your sport. Now you're saying 2013 doesn't even exist. It's gone.
Yeah, I hate how the NCAA does that. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid because, like you said, a lot of those players, aren't directly impacted by it. And it really, it doesn't impact their play on the field or anything. I understand that's in some cases, that's why they went to the university, not necessarily this Louisville case, but maybe Reggie Bush, getting paid or however that worked. But I'm not a huge fan of it. My biggest thing is Rick Pitino is still blatantly denying any knowledge of the situation. And I just think that is so far-fetched, and I don't understand it. I don't know if he's trying to somehow save his reputation and coach again.
I don't think so, though. I think he's to that age where he's done what he's going to do, and he has paid the penalty. To be honest with you, he was kind of forced out of the game, and I do not think he'll be back. So that part was kind of taken care of on its own.
Why do you think he's still saying he has no idea about it? That he obviously did, right?
Well, who's the other guy that was really involved in this who was disappeared? Seriously, no one has heard from him since. One of the assistants or somebody is in witness protection now. He's seriously disappeared. No one's heard from him since, as at the heart of this investigation. So, I don't know. You just can't go to the extremes of stripping a title, in my opinion. It happened. It was what it was. Nothing of this off-court stuff made one difference in any of those 6 games that Louisville played in the NCAA tournament in 2013. It does not matter. The players did what they did. They won the championship over Michigan. Period. Point blank.
Agreed. It's silly. So there's. I don't think the NCAA is ever going to be a institution that we can look on and say they make smart decisions. So I think it's stupid, and who knows what's going to happen next, because this FBI investigation is only beginning. And then on top of that, your boy Josh Pastner, who I think you quoted to say he was the best college basketball coach you've ever seen. He's going to get hit hard pretty soon, I believe.
It may be from basketball stuff. We'll see what happens there. But as far as that sexual misconduct allegation on him, I'm going to tell you, I just don't see that happening. That couple, especially the woman accuser and the guy, her boyfriend, is the same guy that is spilled the beans about these improper benefits from Josh Pastner before. So it's very vindictive here. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you read the story or tied that together. Yeah, the guy who spilled the beans about the improper benefits on Josh it's his girlfriend that supposedly Yeah, they were in a hotel room all together, and he mysteriously went to the bathroom, and she's in the room alone with Josh Pastner, and Josh Pastner just pulled it out. He pulled it out. So, he pulled it out. Yeah. If you know Josh Pastner, that ain't Josh Pastner. I'll give the guy crap about coaching college basketball and just being a nerd, but that just didn't happen. That just did not happen. I promise you. So if that happened, then Josh Pastner is totally different off the court in his personal life, and I just know that's not the case. I know enough to know that's not the case. So yeah, that's weird. That's just that whole story will come crumbling down. And you may even see Josh filing his own lawsuit for defamation of character or something there. But we'll see about that. So what else we got going on? Doug Martin was released. Any other landing spot? And I heard local media today talking about possibly Tennessee, because it seems as if your old boy, DeMarco Murray, may not be long in Tennessee Titans if he's going to become the backup, aging veteran. They may just cut ties altogether. So would you swap out DeMarco Murray for Doug Martin? Is he going to land as a backup role somewhere in the NFL?
I mean, I don't see him as a starter ever again. I kind of think he's washed up. You're not really going to see too much of Doug Martin. He's still kind of young. He hasn't hit that 30 age plateau yet, but it's just his running style. He's dealt with abuse, at Boise State, and in the NFL, he's dealt with his share of injuries. So I'm not sold on Doug Martin being a legitimate running back again. I'm not a starter, not for 1,000-yard rusher like he previously has been. So, I see a lot of people getting excited that he's available, thinking he might come to their team. I've heard San Francisco is a possible landing spot. I'm not a huge fan in Tennessee.
So this will, let me ask you this real quick though, Dan. If this is the situation with Tennessee though, would you rather have this scenario? You're looking at strictly backup. Derrick Henry's the man in Tennessee going forward. So any team that's maybe looking for a backup, would you rather take a risk of drafting a young guy or have a veteran Doug Martin come in as your backup?
Drafting a young guy, especially in this class. This class is loaded with running back talent where you can get a solid back in the 4th, 5th round. So I would definitely go in the draft.
The one name that was brought up, Ronald Jones. Am I saying that right?
Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones from where?
USC.
Okay, yeah. So that was a name. So what are we looking at? Late first round, maybe second round.
He's a late first, day 2 pick,
Okay.
definitely. So I'm actually just getting to his tape now. I just started his draft profile. I've been down on him, but I also haven't been able to study his game. I thought he's been a little bit overhyped. I like a Sonny Michel out of Georgia better, but again, I haven't gotten to his tape yet. So
Ronald Jones over Doug Martin is what you're saying. That should excite the fan base. You know how fans are, because to me, honestly, as a Tennessee Titans fan, I'm more excited about a Doug Martin being the backup as the Ronald Jones.
Honestly, for Tennessee, I wouldn't want to see them spend that high of a pick on a running back. I would rather them grab a Sonny Michel who can be a 3rd round pick, or even later, 4th or 5th. I'm super high on Ito Smith out of Southern Mississippi, so somewhat of a local guy or close to Tennessee. I think he would be actually a perfect complement to Henry because he adds that receiving. He's a receiving back. He had caught no less than 45 receptions all 4 years, 1,000-yard back 3 out of his 4 years. So, that's a guy later in the draft I think can be that 3rd down change of pace back as a rookie. And obviously, if you get him that late, he's a lot cheaper than what I think Doug Martin. Not that he's going to sign a big contract, but I don't think he's going to sign for the vet minimum either.
Yep. So interesting. A lot still to shake out, because you're getting to the point now where the franchise tags and transition tags can be placed, and you're going to see guys cutting guys. So the NFL offseason is about to get really interesting and heat up. Probably shaking right now. What's this update? No, that's about Roy McIlroy. But yeah, probably as we're speaking, things are shaking out in the NFL. So I don't know where our man Orlando is. We'll try to get him in here. But one thing I want to talk about, we're not going to go into this very heavily, Dan, because I questioned whether or not to even put it on the podcast today, but I wanted to get Orlando's take because I know he's been kind of outspoken about this too. But another school shooting, Dan. And now it always stirs up the gun debate again. But I wanted to get Orlando's take because he's been outspoken about it, and he has a son attending school every day. So neither you or I have children that we're sending to school every day. So his feeling is a little bit different about it. But what is going to be the solution, Dan? What is it going to take to eat maybe some pull the reins back a little? This maybe I don't know that you can ever stop crazy people from doing crazy things. Okay, I'm never ever saying that, and I'm not against the Second Amendment. I'm for every gun owner. If you want to buy, if you want to own 30 pistols and rifles, that's fine. But I do think there's a line to be drawn with assault rifles that can fire so many rounds with the velocity that they're shooting to kill 20 people like that. An amateur can kill 20 people like that. And I think there's a problem there. We're going to have to come to some sort of agreement about the gun situation. It's just, I think it's a culture of violence and the love of guns and violence in America. No other country has this problem, Dan. No other country has this problem.
Yeah, I mean, I've never owned a gun. I've never shot a gun. I have no interest in doing any of the above. But I really could care less if my neighbor owned his share of guns legally. I really don't care. What to do about it? I mean, it's tough, but that's what makes our election so important, is you want to put people in charge that you can trust to make some type of decision like that. And that's, I think, what's scary most about our country is this, these things are happening. And I would say 50% of America doesn't trust who's leading the country. So,
when the other half now doesn't trust the FBI. It's such a collision course that we're on now.
I don't. I mean, I'm terrified to bring children into this world, for these reasons, and it's something that I'm going to deal with, relatively soon. So it's scary. I don't have the answers, but that's one reason I vote on election night, is because I put that power into those people that you want to do that, and it's just not getting done. So it's scary. It makes me stutter and try and find words for it, and I don't have it. It's scary, and it sucks.
Well, my whole thing, just to sum it up, is I believe that the Americans, like I said, just have a culture of violence and guns deeply rooted within American culture. Okay. And really what this boils down to is a lot of people just don't want to give up their toys, Dan. They just don't want to give up their toys because no one needs an assault rifle. It's not used for hunting. It's not used for sport. It's just fun to shoot. And that's what I've heard gun owners even say. It's just fun to shoot, but there's no practical purpose for anyone to have an assault rifle like this that fires the amount of rounds that it can. And the thing is the velocity of the bullets can go through 3 people before they slow down. That's a big, big problem. And if you talk about, legal gun owners, everyone was a legal gun owner until they commit the crime. Stephen Paddock, the Las Vegas shooter, was a legal gun owner until he decided to flip. And he just happened to have the arsenal to kill how many people died? 50 plus. That's the thing. It is a little bit about gun control. It's not just about mental stability and mentally ill folks. Yes, a deranged person he can walk into a school with a knife, but you're not going to kill 17 people in a matter of minutes with a knife. I'm sorry, you're just not. It's going to take a high-powered weapon to do something like that. And I think we have to come to the point where we finally have to decide, do we want to give up our toys, or do we want to continue to see mass killings? The U.S. military invented these rifles for the combat field because they can kill mass amounts of people in a short time. That's what they were designed to do. So I don't think they should be in civilians' hands. And if it takes just one person giving up theirs, that makes a difference. I really think the Second Amendment has been abused for far too long and so far out of hand right now that it's going to be impossible. It's an impossible task to try to get these weapons off the street. I know lots of people that own these types of weapons. And to me, I would just say, it's just a toy. It's just a toy. If you could give it up and not have it and give up one of your toys just for the chance of one of these school shootings not to happen, isn't it worth it? That's just the way I stand on it. But I'm sorry Orlando missed this conversation, because I really kind of saved it for him and wanted to talk about it because of him, because I know it scares the death out of him with a son that he sends to school every single day, because you never know when it's going to happen. Now it's happened twice in the matter of just a month in Kentucky and now in Florida again. So that's our political talk for this podcast. And that's just kind of what's going on in the world right now. World of sports all around, baseball, college basketball, football, and just in society in general. So I'll tell you what, let's do next. Let's kind of ease the conversation a little bit and talk about some good things, or maybe not. The NBA AllStar Weekend. How do we feel about that? We'll talk about that. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from myfantasysportstalk.com. Thanks a lot for joining us. However you join us each and every week, we appreciate it. Sorry we missed Valentine's Day, but I hope all you guys and girls out there got it on. Woo! Know what I'm talking about? On Valentine's Day. But we missed you, and we're back. NBA All-Star Game. Something obviously none of us missed, Dan, because I got to talking to you guys. We wanted to put it on the podcast. I did want to talk about it on the podcast, so I'm asking you guys what you thought about it. Not damn one of us who even watched any of it. Not 1 second.
Yeah, I had absolutely no interest in it. I think I was watching the Olympics. I was sick, so I really didn't care about it too much. And I did no interest. I think I actually watched Celebrity Big Brother over the actual All-Star game on Sunday night. Celebrity Big Brother, Brandon.
Okay, so I don't want to get too far off topic here. We'll get right back to NBA All-Star Weekend. And when I say not damn one of us watched a second of it, not damn one of us, myself, Dan, or Orlando, watched any of it from Friday night to Sunday night. Not 1 second. But, Dan, The Bachelor, did you see the hometown date?
I did not. It's on DVR, but I got out of it. Listen, any chance I have to get my fiance to not watch The Bachelor, I take full advantage of. I think it's due next after actually I hop off the podcast. We are going to watch it. So
I didn't realize it was a 2-hour show, Dan, because it's on my DVR as well.
Every week it's 2 hours. It's painful. It is. And the only reason I'm somewhat amused in watching this is because Tia from Weiner, Arkansas. She's just the only reason. It's so no, I did not see the hometown date, so I don't have anything to add. But next week we can recap it all because I will be caught up.
Oh, and it's on my DVR too, so I'll have to skim through it because I'm not watching the whole damn 2 hours of The Bachelor. I haven't watched 1 minute of it.
Is it big talk?
Duration?
Is it big talk in Arkansas right now? That whole Bachelor thing?
Well, of course, on my Facebook groups and friends it is because most of my friends and family are from this area. So, yes, they're talking it up. But I really haven't seen much this week. But, again, I'm not a big Facebook guy, to be honest with you. I'll post a lot of stuff, but I just don't scroll daily. I just don't. Not to be stuck up. I don't know. I don't take the time to do that every day. It's just not something I care enough about.
That's why I have to tag you in the LeVar Ball videos and the Viscouskas games. That's why I do. I do that for you because I know you won't scroll and try and find them.
Didn't I tag you in something recently? Another high school game or something. I don't know. But you should have been watching the 2A2 district tournament from Lepanto, Arkansas all week last week, Dan, because that's where I was.
Well, I actually did. I looked at the live feed a couple times, but I was one of 55,000 or something like that. New breed doing business in Jonesboro.
Over the week, yeah, and our biggest game topped out at over 10,000. So no, we're not Lithuania Church League basketball featuring Ball in the Family, but we're trying to be. So we'll get there. But NBA All-Star Weekend, Dan, you still hadn't seen none of it. Did you even watch the dunk clips that I sent you today?
No, I don't. I
got it down to a 3-minute clip for you.
Yeah, to our audience, Brandon did a great job. Sent me clips of highlights of the dunk videos in preparation for the podcast tonight, and shoot, man, didn't care. I just did not care. It's the NBA All-Star Game to me is. It's the NFL Pro Bowl, and it's so commercialized. The dunk contest isn't even a dunk contest anymore. I can't really tell you by experience this year because I really didn't even watch it, obviously, not even the clips. So, yeah, I had zero interest in it, and I don't care. Didn't care. Nope. Televised the draft, which I guess they're going to next year. That's the only thing I cared about, and that completely soured me.
They talked about that. I heard a scenario where they were possibly talking about maybe doing that on Saturday of the All-Star Weekend, right before who cares? All the All-Stars show up. You don't know what team you're on until Saturday. Who gives a flip? And then televise the picking of the teams, and that will be the highlight of All-Star Weekend, I promise you. I bet you that would get more numbers than the All-Star game itself.
I'd watch it.
Yep. Just a theory. I don't know that for sure. Just a theory. But yeah, as far as the All-Star game itself, no, I did not watch it. Friday night, I was working. But Saturday, I did record because I'm always intrigued by the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. The skills challenge, I fast-forwarded right through that. Not that I'm opposed to it. I just don't care. But let me tell you, Dan, the 3-point contest this year, I saw some of the worst shooting. Seriously, I would have outperformed at least 4 or 5 guys in this field. Not even joking. Let me see. So I don't even remember who all was in it, but Devin Booker finally ended up winning. He had the best round by far. He ended up with the championship round, the final round of 28, which is a great score. He was on fire there. But Paul George, Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, they sucked it up. There were several guys that barely even hit 10 points. And that's the guys I'm telling I would have beat. I promise you, I would have beat. That ain't really hit but about 5 balls out of what, 20, 25 balls?
Yeah.
It's 5 racks of 5 balls. What is 25? What? I mean, it was horrible shooting, absolutely horrible shooting. In the dunk contest, it really kind of pissed me off because, as you just said, it's so commercialized now. First of all, I hate props. The very first dunk, I believe it was Dennis Smith Jr. It was either Dennis Smith Jr. or Donovan Mitchell who came out and used a secondary backboard. It's creative. He threw the alley-oop off the lower backboard behind the actual backboard. And so, instead of throwing it off the backboard and catching it and dunking, he threw it off a secondary backboard and caught it and dunked it. Okay, fine. But I'm against props. I'm against props of all. I want you to do something creative with just you, a ball, and a goal. Old school. So I was disappointed because Dennis Smith Jr. had the best dunk of the night, folks. Don't make any mistake about it. He did a 360 between the legs and switched hands and dunked it. Most creative, hardest, best dunk of the whole contest, period, hands down. He didn't even make the championship round. The championship round was Larry Nance and Donovan Mitchell. Larry Nance had the second best dunk to me, just for creativeness. Not every guy can do this. He threw it off the backboard, caught it, threw it off the backboard again to himself, and dunked it. Very creative. They need to go back and watch these highlights. But also and this wasn't quite a prop, but you need to watch this, Dan, because what he did, this is just a cool moment. I don't know if you realize this, but Larry Nance, his father, won the first ever, the inaugural Slam Dunk Championship, whatever year it was, 84, I don't know, whatever year it was. He won the inaugural Slam Dunk Champion. So you ever heard of the group Quick Change, Dan? They played a lot of half times of the NBA games. It's this couple, they throw up a curtain and change clothes real quickly. It's just like a magic act, but they change clothes and do crazy things. You ever heard of that, Quick Change?
Yes, they make appearances on Hell's Kitchen every year.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Entertaining stuff. I've seen them in person several times. But so they introduced Larry Nance, and he came out in the land gear, the Cleveland gear, and they did the Quick Change, and he came out in his father's old, his old father's old son's uniform, the high socks and everything. So that was just a pretty cool moment. And he came out, of course, with the cradle dunk that his dad did. So that was just a cool moment. But other than that, Donovan Mitchell had good, solid dunks, but nothing that would just blow you away. He just came out and got the numbers. I think Victor Oladipo didn't even hit his first dunk. He had 3 attempts and just missed them all together. So the format's weird. I don't know that we had necessarily the best guys involved in the dunk contest, but hands down, to me, Dennis Smith Jr. had the best dunk of the night, and I think he should have won it. So to me, it's just a joke now. The dunk contest is a joke. And I'm glad I DVR'd it and didn't even watch it until Tuesday night, to be honest with you, because it just wasn't worth my time. So is that where we're at now? And I know you're the baseball guy, so you're going to say baseball, MLB has the best all-star game, period. But is that where we're at now? I mean, I don't know what the ratings were. I'll have to go back and check the ratings, but this doesn't appeal to me. And I'm an NBA guy. NBA is my number one favorite sport. And this appealed to me not one damn bit.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where we are. All-star games have become a joke, except in baseball. So this summer, let's watch it.
I'm always kind of intrigued a little bit by the All-Star, the home run derby, a little bit, depending who's in it. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not interested in the actual All-Star game itself because the players don't play enough. I mean, you play two innings, so that's not a true representation. And I'm just finally glad, although you are not, that they finally eliminated the rule of the winning team gets home field advantage in the World Series, because that is ridiculous. That was just ridiculous. But that's NBA All-Star Weekend, folks. We're going to jump into the second half of the NBA season starting tomorrow night, Thursday night, and see who's going to win this thing. So real quickly, Dan, did Cleveland get any better with the trades they made? I mean, Toronto's the number 1 seed now. I don't know if you saw this, but Toronto's actually the number 1 seed. Boston's 2, Cleveland's 3. Anyway, this trade made Cleveland better, and they have any chance, even in the East. Forget against Golden State or Houston, whoever comes out of the West. They even have any chance in the East.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got a little bit better. They got younger, which is basically what I think can help them in the East. I mean, fresher legs. They got a lot of shooters who can get hot at any time. So, I enjoyed watching Rodney Hood play in Utah occasionally. I mean, he can go off for 30 at any given time. So it just gives them that ability to have that punch. They're not going to do that every game, but they have that ability to, and it's just younger legs. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, although he looked good in the game that he played with the Lakers, He didn't look right. He didn't look like his, MVP caliber self. And I said it last year, you can't win with Isaiah Thomas as your point guard in the NBA in the playoffs. He's just too short.
Not,
and it just doesn't
not
work.
when J.R. Smith was the 2 guard. No, I didn't necessarily completely agree with you in that regard last year, depending on who the surrounding cast is. But the cast that Cleveland put around him, if you're going to try to run out there Isaiah Thomas and J.R. Smith, then hell no.
Yeah. So, I think they still are a legit shot in the East. I think Boston's actually the team that's going to come out of it right now.
Especially if Gordon Hayward comes back, which I'm hearing is not out of the question of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, that would just add to it. So, but I mean, it's the West. It's the Warriors. The Rockets have looked good, and as much of a Warriors hater as I want to be, I want to believe that the Rockets can compete and actually beat them in a 7-game series. But I'm just not sold yet. But it's going to be one of those 2 teams that win the championship.
So we may be along the same thought process here, because I do think Cleveland got better than where they were a month ago for sure, but they're not going to beat Boston or Toronto in a 7-game series in the East. To me, I don't think they can beat Toronto. I just really don't. Did they get better? Yes, but they were down. They were slipping bad. And I'm talking about in a 7-game. I'm not talking about regular season games where you're playing Orlando one night, Charlotte one night, Memphis one night, and Phoenix one night, and then maybe the Spurs, Rockets. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a 7-game series against the same damn team for 2 weeks straight. They're not beating Toronto or Cleveland. They weren't a month ago. They're not now, not with this cast. So I think they really are just positioning themselves for life after LeBron, and they're going to get a high pick in the draft, and they'll move on. They got their championship. They'll move on. So NBA starting up real soon. So let's transition from NBA into college basketball, Dan. I got to say, I've been picking up my college basketball a little bit here lately because it's just getting time. The season's just flown by on me, and I got to start studying this stuff because we got to fill out brackets really soon, and we got to talk intelligible, if that's even a word. I can't even say that right and talk intelligible about college basketball in these podcasts because it's about to be serious business. So our 2 early Final Four. I came up. I think you'll like this, Dan. I'll go ahead and go first. So my first one is Michigan State, which I told you probably a year ago. As soon as Miles Bridges decided he was coming back, that they were going to be in my Final Four because it's just Tom. That's just what he does. The Tom Izzo team does. But Jaren Jackson, the addition of him, man, that dude is a beast. I saw him do a spin move and a monster jam last night. He's talented. Not every player every team has a player like that he can even do that with that skill set. So the experienced sophomore Miles Bridges, Jaren Jackson, 5 guys scoring in double digits, and Tom Izzo. It's just time for another Spartan trip to the Final Four. So they're for sure going to the Final Four. That's as far as security, I would say they're number 1 on my list right now. Number 2, Duke, which may surprise you because they have 2 NBA lottery top 10 picks. That's a team. You got 2 NBA lottery top 10 picks. Marvin Bagley, Wendell Carter Jr., Grayson Allen running the point now very efficiently. Seems to have helped them out. Yeah, Gary Trent Jr., which I remember watching his dad play. Dude's got it in his genes. Then, of course, the great Coach K. And they haven't been to the Final Four since 2015, so they are due. Villanova, 6 guys averaging at least 10 and 3. That's pretty outstanding if you stop and think about it. 6 different guys averaging double-digit scoring and at least 3 rebounds. Jalen Brunson getting Player of the Year consideration. Mikal Bridges, and then, of course, Jay Wright, which I believe is definitely a top 5 coach in the land. He's already solidified that. He's a hell of a coach. My 4th team in the Final Four right now, Dan, and I hate to do it. You know how bad I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it. The Kansas Jayhawks. Devontae Graham getting Player of the Year consideration really schooled your boy Trae Young the other night. And the 7-foot Azubuike, LaGerald Vick, Malik Newman. That's just a solid starting 5. They're not the deepest team, but 1 through 5, they are pretty damn tough to deal with on a night in, night out basis. So you better hope for some foul trouble for one of those guys if you really want to compete with Kansas. And it was exactly 10 years ago in San Antonio where the Kansas Jayhawks won their last national title. over the Memphis Tigers. And guess where the Final Four is this year, Dan? It is in San Antonio. So that's what I got right now. What do you think? Michigan State, Duke, Villanova, Kansas.
We agreed on one team out of the Final Four, and that's Villanova. I'm sold on them. Jay Wright has his team playing well, like you said. Jalen Brunson, I actually think he will be the Player of the Year. Trae Young is just he's died off a little bit. I mean, I like me some Trae Young. He's
still leading the nation in scoring and assists, but
his
numbers are so escalated at the beginning of the season. There.
He's got to get reined in. I don't know what Lon Kruger has to do to just be like, stop just randomly chucking up shots. I mean, I love it because that's the Steph Curry approach. That's what Steph Curry did, and Trae Young's better than Steph Curry, so that's cool. But he's got to chill on that. So
the chucker.
So yes, he is. So Jimmy don't like that. So I have Villanova. My other team, I've kept them in my Final Four all year. It's not changing, and that's Purdue. You got the Edwards, Carson, and Vincent, the big men, Haas, and whatever the other H guy's name is. So I like Purdue. They're a veteran team, and that's what I look for kind of to lead these Final Four runs. You'll see that in my Final Four bracket here. But I still like Purdue. They've slipped back a little bit. I watched the game where they lost to Penn State, but that Penn State team is a legit tournament team. They're going to be in the field, so I don't look down too much on that loss. So I have Purdue. Virginia is another team that I have in there. The number one defensive efficiency in all of college basketball. It seems like they are seemingly every year. But I think this is a year. Virginia has something this year that, they had Malcolm Brogdon and guys in the past, but this guy, Kyle Guy, he's a sophomore guard. He averages about 15 points a game, 2 steals a game. He's great locking up on the perimeter defense, but he has this speed about him almost that he can get to the lane that just looks a little bit more effective than, Malcolm Brogdon, who's tearing up the NBA, was to me. So he's only a sophomore, so you never know, but I like Virginia. They just play defense. They can stop anybody in the country. And, if you play games 55 in the 50s and the 60s, they're always going to have a chance to win. So Virginia is my third team. And then I've also stuck with this team. They've fallen back a little bit. They lost a guy, but that's Texas Tech. Start 5 seniors. They have an incredible freshman who comes off the bench. Keenan Evans is hurt right now, but he's supposed to come back. But he's their senior leader, and he's in play for Big 12 Player of the Year. He's probably not going to come close because Trae Young. But I love what Texas Tech does. They're great offensively and defensively. And anytime you can throw out 5 seniors on the court at the same time, you're going to have a chance in the tournament. And right now,
you also got Bam Mobamba in the Big 12 too. So, no. So, and I knew you were gonna, because everyone's doing this, Dan. They're the number one team in the country, Virginia. So I wrote an asterisk here, and let me tell you about Virginia. They haven't been to the Final Four since 1984. Yes, they're only giving up 52 points per game, but they're scoring they're ranked 306th in the country in scoring per game. And when you get into the NCAA tournament and you run up against a hot team and you struggle scoring, it's lights out. It's game over for you. And Tony Bennett that's his mantra. That's what he does, and he's done it for the last decade. And they've only made it out of the Sweet 16 once in that whole time with Tony Bennett. So I don't believe in them. I don't believe in this style. You can't play lockdown defense against a hot team 6 times in a row. You just can't do it. And the further you get in the tournament, you see that, because once you get to the Sweet 16, you're facing a hot team. Face it, you're facing a hot team once you get to the Sweet 16 and beyond. So that style is just not going to do it for me. And they're always the team that gets upset. They're going to get a 1 seed. They're going to be on the number 1 line. And I guarantee you, out of all the number 1 seeds, they're the most picked to be upset before the Final Four. Guarantee you that. So that's just kind of my note there on Virginia. I'm not a believer, man. Just not a believer. But they're number 1. There's difference in regular season basketball and tournament basketball. And Tony Bennett is 7-5 in the NCAA tournament since being at Virginia. And I don't see it happening. But
I didn't see the Memphis Tigers on your list.
Look at this. This team is actually having a better season than the Memphis Tigers, to be honest with you. Man, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, Dan. The whole
they
debate.
screwed me yet again. I'll just throw that out there. They went and beat SMU, I believe, the other day. Memphis, probably a week ago or so now.
Right.
Whatever they did, it sucked because I like to bet against them. Really, I mean they've been a good team to do so, but they screwed me on that one. So
they host Houston, number 23 in the country, Thursday night. So you got another opportunity, Dan. I'd probably go ahead and take that bet right there.
I don't know. They're at home. They play well at home. They're a home team.
They do, and who really knows at this point? Because that's the thing. Tubby is coaching these kids. I don't care what anybody says. In practice each day, these guys are getting a little bit better because Tubby Smith is telling them what to do. He's a great mind. He's a great basketball mind, great instructor. We'll say that. He's a great instructor of basketball. He's just not getting the job done on the recruiting trail, so he's getting hammered here by the local media. I just don't care. I'm just glad it's not Josh Pastner anymore. This is just a transition to me anyway. The smart thing to do is add Penny as an assistant. Word now is, Dan, that Penny may be looking to join Calipari in Kentucky because Jordan Wiseman, the number one player in the country, which plays for East High School, Penny's team, is committing to Kentucky. So word is that Penny may join John Calipari's staff as an assistant, which is a brilliant move by Calipari because Penny has like 4 NBA players on his high school team in East High School in Memphis right now. So if you can get those guys, then you're golden. But what I'm saying is, why hasn't Memphis already made this move? Why haven't they already offered Penny an assistant job? I would tell Tubby Smith, as part of the stipulations for your contract and your job going forward, is you hire Penny Hardaway as an assistant and teach him how to coach the inner workings of a program for even 1 year, 2 years. I don't know. Tubby probably sees that as his way out the door because once Penny's ready, then, Tubby knows that he's gone. But all you need is those recruits. You need Penny Hardaway involved in Memphis Tiger basketball because really you just need those Memphis recruits. And then you're right back where you started. It could happen like that. The switch could be flipped overnight in Memphis, just like that. I don't know why that's not happening already. So anyway, that's your college basketball talk. We'll dive more into that next week. I guess Orlando ain't going to join us, man. It's just me and you on the podcast. Just me and you for the rest of the time. And what me and you are going to do next is we're going to talk some NFL and answer some NFL mailbag questions. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast, myfantasysportstalk.com. You know the deal. You know where we're at. We're everywhere. We be all over that. Thanks for watching. I am Brandon Reed. That is Dan Shaw. So, Dan, we're getting into one of the NFL. There's no other sport like the NFL for off-season drama, in my opinion. The NBA is close, but the NFL never stops. The Super Bowl just ended, 2 weeks ago, and now we're getting into the off-season drama. Who's going to be cut? Who's going to be franchise tagged? And all that. And the draft coming up. We're gearing up for that. So, I know you agree with this. No off-season like the NFL.
No, and especially for me, a draft enthusiast, a guy who just loves to study tape and the prospects coming out. I would like to think that I have this knowledge of the guys, so I kind of know how teams can kind of be, with their drafts and how good or how bad did they get. So it's something that I love, and then add free agency and then the trade chatter to it. It's always an active time, and draft night especially, I expect to see some trades going down.
Surely. There's teams out there. It seems to me like we get a lot of Bills questions, a lot of Jets questions, but a lot of Bills questions. So we'll start right there, Dan, this week. First one comes from Hussein Bills Mafia Doucette Jr. What is your take on the Bills possibly moving up to number 2 in the draft and drafting a quarterback? Is this legit? So let me start before getting your expert opinion, Dan. If I'm moving up to number 2, I sure as hell ain't getting a quarterback. I don't know. That's just me. I just don't think so. I would put all my stake in probably getting we've heard Thomas Tate talk about this, is go get Nick Foles. But Nick Foles, Kirk Cousins, one of them. I don't know. Both of them may cost you too much. I don't know, but it just depends on how you feel about these quarterbacks in this draft class, which there is 4 or 5 of them that we're saying could be elite. We don't know. First round possible draft picks. But if I'm moving up to number 2, I'm going to take Barkley, even Minka Fitzpatrick, maybe even Bradley Chubb before I'm taking a quarterback at number 2. If I move up to take number 2. So here's the thing: the Bears did exactly that last year and took Mitchell Trubisky. Did it work out for them, Dan? Maybe still up in the air, but did that work out for them? Is that the best thing that they could have done? Is that the best thing for the Bears to do?
Well, I remember last year during our live draft show, we were all shocked when they traded up because didn't they only trade up a spot or 2?
Yeah, and they could have got him anyway. They could have.
I
I forgot who they traded out of, but they weren't going to take Trubisky. Whoever they traded up, you could have got him at 3, 4, whatever they had.
And especially after signing Mike Glennon to a huge contract in the offseason. So
Which they just released him, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't they release him this week?
I don't know. I did not hear that, but it's possible. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'll verify that while you go.
Yeah, so that was definitely a head scratcher. And now, I mean, there is a ton of talk right now in Buffalo about the Bills moving up to select a quarterback. I mean, the reports are numerous from all these local Bills reporters, national reporters, Mike Rodak of ESPN, who I know our own Thomas Tate hates. So it's definitely getting a lot of talk up here. A lot of it is for Josh Rosen. I think the Giants are going to trade down out of 2, but for the Bills to do this, to me, they'd be making a huge mistake. They have 2 picks, 21 and 22. They need as much talent as they can get. Yes, they made the playoffs, dropped the drought, but this is not a talented team. I mean, they don't really have a quarterback with the whole Tyrod Taylor, Nathan Peterman situation. But I'm not sold on any of these quarterbacks being worth what you would give up. Because not only would you have to get to move to 2, realistically, the Bills would have to give up 21, 22, at least a future first, and then probably a future third. So, I mean, they're giving up a ton of draft picks for one player who may or may not work out. So I'm not a huge fan of it. The Bills have been starving for a franchise quarterback. So I guess, if they do make this deal, you better believe they have confidence and full faith in that guy that they're mortgaging their future for. So I think it is possible if these reports are true. Now, smoke screens could be galore right now. But if I were a Bills fan, which thankfully I am not, I would hate my team attempting to do this type of move.
So to go back to Mike Glennon real quick, Ryan Pace, they got decisions to make, and the brand new GM. It's likely that Glennon, he's not been cut by the Bears yet, but it's likely that he will because it will save the team $9 million. So it's likely that he's out. But so did you think that worked out? Is Trubisky the man now in Chicago? Does that work out? Could you see a scenario like that?
Yeah, well, Trubisky got better in each start, so that's good to see. You did see the progress. So I do think he has the chance. Now, I don't think he's going to be an elite quarterback, but he's going to be a solid starter. I think he can develop into that in the NFL. So I think it was a dumb move by Chicago either way. But, they got their franchise guy supposedly for the next few years. So we'll see if they can develop a team around him. I mean, they do have some nice pieces. They just need some wideouts. Their running backs are set. They just need some wideouts on that roster because Josh Bellamy is not a starting wide receiver in the NFL, and they trotted him out there quite often.
And that's what one of the local Memphis radio guys I heard today was talking about exactly that. He's a huge Bears fan, and that's exactly what he was talking about. Is those guys are not going to get you the job done right now. So he was thinking wide receiver.
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, exactly for the Chicago Bears. So, yes. What they have on staff right now is just not going to quite get the job done. But so, how do you feel about the draft class of quarterbacks overall, Dan? I mean, it's pretty deep, I guess. There's a lot of guys that are projected to be taken during the top. Now, you have come out and said that your number one guy is Allen, right?
Yes, Josh Allen is my number one. the NFL draft seems a little bit weird this year to me, and the reason is there's such a disarray of who is the best quarterback in this class, whether it's Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph. They're all getting talk. Lamar Jackson is I've seen thrown in. There's some guys who just swear by Lamar Jackson. So it's so different, and teams are going to be the same way. Some teams are going to like some and not the others. So technically speaking, there could be 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round of this draft. I would be shocked if that's the case, because on some of them, I don't have first round grades on these guys. Josh Rosen, he's going to get taken in probably the top 10, top 15. I would take him in the second round. He's a second round grade for me. Sam Darnold, he's kind of moving up. I'm liking his tape a little bit more. But Josh Allen right now is the only quarterback I have with a first round grade. Baker Mayfield, if he's taken in the first round, I'm going to be just flabbergasted, because years past you would not see teams risk as much to take a quarterback, where I think they're just so starved to find that franchise guy. You're going to see teams reach. That's what you saw last year with the Bears. They couldn't miss out on Trubisky. He could be the franchise, so you saw him make a ridiculous trade to get him. You're going to see teams do that. Baker Mayfield, to me, is not a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a system quarterback who doesn't throw receivers open. He has a great arm. He's very accurate. His footwork is absolutely atrocious. And I just think that Oklahoma system is not going to translate to the NFL. I actually put that out there, and on social media, and I got bounce back from these draft fans saying, well, it doesn't matter because he also went to Texas Tech. Well, Texas Tech is an air raid offense, is the exact same, if not similar, offense that was run at Oklahoma. So I think you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks go in the first round. I'll still be surprised when I see it, because it's just not typically if a quarterback isn't a surefire first round pick, you'll see some drop. So maybe we're going to see that. But the talk all around right now is that you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks go in the first round.
So you mentioned 4 right there with Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Mason Rudolph, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. So there's 4. I'm going to say Lamar Jackson's 5. So who? And you mentioned possibly 6 going in the first round. So who would be that 6th guy?
So yeah, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so that's your 6.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Sorry. Man, I don't know. And so one of the guys that's kind of been forgotten about this, a lot of people are screaming, what are y'all doing? Is Lamar Jackson. Why is he forgotten in this conversation?
I mean, it's honestly, it's because he's a fast African-American quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, that's why you have Bill Polian coming out. And the guys are defending Bill Polian as this worldly draft expert because he put together a wonderful Buffalo Bills organization. But when he moved on to Indianapolis, his teams sucked. It was all Peyton Manning that basically dragged his talent. And he's coming out and he's saying Lamar Jackson is too, and this is literally what Bill Polian said, he's too short to play quarterback and should play wide receiver.
Ever heard of Drew Brees?
And the other thing is Lamar Jackson isn't short. He's 6'3".
No, Michael Vick wasn't even. Yeah. How tall is Michael Vick?
I think he was listed at 6 foot, but he was probably
5'11".
Yeah,
5'11".
Yeah. So it's just Bill Polian coming out and saying something like that with Lamar Jackson. I mean, maybe he's not going to be a great quarterback. I haven't gotten through all this tape yet, but he has a hell of an arm. He's gotten more accurate every season at Louisville. And he's electric. I mean, just put him in the Wildcat and let him go to work. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a team that falls in love with Lamar Jackson's athleticism, and they're going to take him in the first round.
All right, so a long way around that question. Hussein Bills Mafia Doucette Jr. Look who decided to join us. What time are you on? Is there flooding going on in San Antonio? What's going on? Armando Orlando Torres did make the podcast. What up?
Hey, how's it going, fellas? No, I was in Dallas earlier and I didn't tell nobody, and I was getting home a little bit late, so I do apologize.
What you and Mark Cuban been up to? There's a lot of trouble going on in Dallas. I just got to know now. We already talked about it earlier in the podcast. You got to let us know what's going on in Dallas here. What's the latest?
Well, All-Star break just finished, so we're talking about something coming up, but those are still, plans are a little hush-hush, so we won't release nothing just now.
Well, glad you're here. Glad you joined us. You missed the conversation earlier, man. We talked about a lot so far. We're halfway through the mailbag. We're not halfway through the mailbag questions, but we're deep into it. But the next mailbag question, we're jumping in. We're talking NFL football here, by the way, Orlando. This is where we're at. We're answering NFL mailbag questions, so we'll roll straight through these. But glad you could join us here in the last 30 minutes or so of the podcast. The next one comes from Chubby Roberts. Marcus Peters on the trade block. Who is a good fit for him? And let me start out first, Dan, because I looked at this and analyzed this. And first of all, when I saw this, I'm like, what the hell? Okay, so it's one sports reporter, as far as I can tell, who got him on the trade block who's reporting this. I'm not going to answer the second part of the question because Marcus Peters is not going anywhere. He's not going to be on the trade block. And I'll tell you for several reasons. He's a top 15 cornerback in the league. He has more interceptions in the league since any other cornerback since he landed in the league 2 seasons ago. Secondly, the Chiefs desperately need to get back to that ball-hawking defense they were, that fearful defense that the Chiefs have been, that have just not been there the last season or so, really. You lost on Terry Poe. That really hurt, I believe. Eric Berry got hurt this year. You can't lose your anchor and one of the best players you got, Marcus Peters. And then lastly, the last reason, Dan, is $1.7 million. He's still in his rookie deal. That's all the Chiefs are going to be paying for a top, let's just say 10, 12 cornerback in the league next year. $1.7 million. They got the steal right now. That's a very good value for the Chiefs. There's no way they're letting him go, especially when you really need him next year, because you're going to be playing basically a rookie quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. So you need that you need to be building that defense back up to what it was. And you let Marcus Peters go, you're going backwards. I see no way in hell this happens, Dan.
Yeah, I'd definitely be surprised if the Chiefs let him go. And I mean, if they do, I think it's more due to off the field and personal issues inside that locker room. He blows up at coaches all the time.
Maybe he should. Maybe Andy Reid needs to be blown up on.
Well, that is true. And on top of those great numbers that you put up for what he does, he's also the most penalized defensive back in the league. So there's some give take there. So I'm with you. I would be surprised if he's moved. But a trade scenario that just keeps popping up to me is to Miami. And it's a 1-for-1 player swap that you don't see too much, but the Dolphins would trade Jarvis Landry for Marcus Peters. I think it fits both needs. The Dolphins have a huge hole in the defensive backfield, and they're going to tag Jarvis Landry, but they supposedly still are looking to either sign him to a long-term deal, and if they can't do that, they are willing to trade him. So that's probably a little far-fetched, but I think it could fit both teams. When you look at Jarvis Landry going to the Chiefs, you're giving Patrick Mahomes a possession receiver that Kansas City doesn't really have. Tyreke Hill is more of a deep threat. Maybe you can give him some screen passes, but he's not a true number one receiver. So I think it fits both teams. But I would.
Don't you think Kansas City, their staple has been defense, though? I mean, that's really what their calling card has been, and they've lost it because like I said, I think losing Don Terry Poe to free agency really hurt them because he was a clog in that middle. Dude, he was like, wasn't he like he scored touchdowns on the offense too? I mean, so don't you think they need to refocus on that defense too? You can't give that up. They got to be that Chiefs defense, and losing Peters would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, say they use they don't even have a first-round pick. I was going to say first-round pick on a defensive back or something, but you never know. I mean, they could establish it or address it in the draft and then trade him after the fact. Yeah, there's so much rumors and reports at this time, so I would be surprised if he's moved, but I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't.
$1.7 million, man, that's a steal this coming year. For this next coming year, that is a steal for what he's probably going to produce for you on the field. What do you think, Orlando, about the Chiefs scenario here? Have you heard this? I mean, would you do this at all? Marcus Peters, most interceptions in the league the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I've heard a little bit about it. I don't know if I would do it, but just like Dan said, I know he's pretty much a hothead in the locker room. One scenario I was hearing about, I thought it was pretty interesting. If he stays actually in the division and goes to the Raiders with John Gruden there now as a head coach, as they're kind of starting to rebuild that team, that'll be kind of interesting. I don't know how likely that is, but then what we've seen in the NFL, that would not surprise me either.
Very interesting. I didn't think about that. I just don't see any way he slips out of Kansas City, because to me, I think the focus should be defense, and you don't lose. You don't give up a player like that. I just don't see it happening. But interesting. I did see that report though, Chubby Roberts, and I don't think it's one reporter throwing some stuff out there. I just don't think this one sticks at all. So let's move on. Another NFL question here. This one comes from Brandon Merritt. Kirk Cousins landing spots. Jets are willing to offer whatever it takes to get him. Oh, and I've heard that before. I saw that too. That was a literal quote, I think, coming out of the Jets organization. But I don't know. There's several spots. There's about 5 or 6 spots out there that really need a quarterback. So, Orlando, let's go to you. What do you think? Kirk Cousins landing spots.
Yeah, no, I've heard some ridiculous rumors with the Jets. The one that came out today, I don't know how true that was. I think that one a little bit more. They're offering him like $60 million on his first year. That just seems a little bit ridiculous. But I think teams will try to do whatever they can to get Kirk Cousins. But the rumors have kind of died down at the moment. So it's kind of, I think Denver will be likely. If they're not going to go draft a quarterback, I think a team like Denver is pretty likely to land Kirk Cousins rather than the Jets. I think the Jets will do whatever it takes to get him, but I don't know if they have what it has to attract a guy like Kirk Cousins compared to a team like or a franchise like the Denver Broncos.
Oh, he's going to get paid based on just what Alex Smith got. But the Jets do have the cap space, and my teams are the same here. As far as the teams that need a quarterback, yes, it's the Jets, Browns, Bills, Broncos, Cardinals, with Carson Palmer retiring. They're going to get in the mix. Maybe they use a draft pick. I don't know. But here's the thing, and this is what I'm waiting for, Dan. I'm waiting for any minute to get an update on my phone that the Redskins have either franchise tagged or transition tagged Kirk Cousins, because they want to try to get something for him instead of letting him walk away in free agency. I do not be surprised if they do that, because I think they are vindictive right now. This whole Kirk Cousins relationship has been sour from the beginning. And they have no loyalty to Kirk Cousins now with Alex Smith in town. So I would not be surprised. I'm telling you, I'm looking at that's the next big news I'm looking for out of the NFL, is to see that the Redskins tagged him so that they could possibly trade him to get something back in return for him. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. That's just a crazy scenario though, Dan, right? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know at this point.
It's very Washington-esque of them to do something like that. I think I get the point behind it, but at the same time, I mean, NFL teams also know they're not going to pay both quarterbacks. So if I'm an NFL team, I'm not offering anything. I'm just going to.
They're not in a position of power.
Exactly. So I think it would be head scratching. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Either way, Kirk Cousins is going to get overpaid. He's an average starter in the NFL, in my opinion.
I can't believe where the quarterback salaries are in this game anymore.
Insane.
Where Alex Smith is the highest paid quarterback. I just cannot believe this is where we're at.
Yeah, so I mean, he's going to get overpaid. I like Denver as a possibility. Arizona is another one. The Jets, obviously, I did hear the $60 million first year rumor today. I'd be surprised. The Jets, they have no idea what they're doing with the quarterback position, I don't think. So maybe. Who knows?
They got the cap space, though. I mean, they have like $70 million or so in cap space. I mean, it's a lot. So they could make the move if they wanted to. And they may just need to do that for the fan base, is just quail this quarterback conversation talk, which the Buffalo Bills need to do too. Is sometimes you just need to get that guy that the fans are satisfied with for a little bit to shut them up, let it play out, and see what you got. But that's interesting. Let's move on. Another Another NFL question here. Let's move on. Switch list here. Let's do this one. So this one comes from Eric Lemons. Eric Lemons is a repeat question submitter, Dan, right? That name sounds familiar.
Yes, he's a big draft enthusiast and constantly submits questions to me. So I appreciate Eric always, tuning in and listening. And we're happy to answer his draft questions. He's a big trade guy. He always wants to know what trade is about to happen next. So it's intriguing how Eric Lemon's mind works when it comes to the NFL draft.
All right. But this is a great question, a really great question. Which team do you think would be a surprise team to draft a quarterback? I got some shockers, but I want to hear Dan's take first.
We were just talking about them. Isn't it very Washington-esque if they were to draft a quarterback after
that's outside
just
the box.
signing Alex Smith?
Well,
They
in
did
this the team years ago, RG3 and Kirk Cousins in the same year.
Exactly. So I think I wouldn't put it past Washington to do that. It might not be a first-round pick, but say they get a Mike White in the third or fourth round from Western Kentucky. I can see them doing something like that because they're stupid. So it's very Washington-esque, Dan Snyder-esque to do something like that. Two other teams that I have on the list. One I think is a must. They just have to do it is Baltimore. Get rid of Joe Flacco. Dude's garbage. He's ever since he won a Super Bowl, he's wanted to play bocce ball instead of football. So I think Baltimore.
You confirm that?
What? Confirm?
You confirm that?
The bocce ball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a big tournament player in the off season. Bocce ball.
Different than Romo wanting to play golf in the off season.
Yeah, but Romo was fantastic on the field. Hall of Fame.
He's a decent golfer too. He's really a decent golfer.
So I think Baltimore needs to invest. Go for it. Go big. And then another team, just as a surprise. Eric's question is surprise teams. And Green Bay. I have Green Bay down here too. Aaron Rodgers. He's not getting any older or younger, I should say. He is getting older. Would they do a Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type move? Draft a guy and let him sit on the bench 4 or 5 years, or however long until A-Rod calls it quits. Brett Hundley is obviously not very good, so I don't think they can really trust him as their backup. So I can see Green Bay being a surprise team to draft a quarterback.
All right. Well, I'm glad you didn't mention one of the two teams that I have because that's very good insight, very good scenarios laid out by you, Dan Schalk. And I'm going to give you two that's going to shock you because one of them is right off the top, one of the very top picks in the NFL draft, and it's the Indianapolis Colts. Do we know Andrew Luck is ever going to be healthy again? Word is he hadn't picked up a football since having torn labrum surgery. Who knows if he's going to come back healthy? We don't really know that at this moment. Despite whatever the new GM is spitting out there. And let me propose this question for you real quick. Why did Josh McDaniels back out of that deal? Because a day or so after it happened and I let it soak in, maybe Josh McDaniels got some inside scoop on Andrew Luck, and Josh McDaniels figured out he was not getting the franchise quarterback he thought he may be getting. Why did he back out of that deal? So there you go. Indianapolis Colts, not out of the realm of possibility. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Andrew Luck. And the second one is the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I think me and Dan have jumped on their bandwagon and been burnt the last 2 years. Something happened with that offense this year. It was not good. It was just not good at all. And the decision to keep Dirk Cutter makes me think maybe there's sentiment within that organization that maybe it's Jameis Winston who is not holding up his end of the bargain in this deal. I don't know, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to at least draft a guy who can succeed, back up, or even eventually replace Jameis Winston if Dirk Cutter was retained and it's not working out. Something didn't work out well in that Buccaneers locker room this year and on the field as well, especially from the offensive end and from the quarterback position, whether it be coaching or quarterback itself. So that's my two shockers right there. Fairly high in the first round of the NFL draft. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Orlando, what you think?
I was actually going to jump on the Colts one, so that one makes sense. But I was going to say a team that would kind of make sense be a shocker will probably be the Oakland Raiders. I know John Gruden is new there, but you look at Derek Carr, and after he breaking his leg, it's going on to year 2 that'll be recovered. He wasn't the same. He kind of, I know that 1 year everybody thought they were going to make a Super Bowl run before he got hurt. I think people were looking at Derek Carr as quarterback. He as overachieving, basically, some quarterback that he's really not being. Maybe we're playing for what he really is. And it wouldn't surprise me if you just see a team like Oakland kind of draft someone else to see Derek Carr's progression going forward in his health. And maybe he's just not the guy if it doesn't work out with the direction they're going. It wouldn't surprise me to see them take a quarterback just to see what happens if plans don't work the way they hope they do.
It's not bad. That's not bad. You got one more you can throw out there? You just had to name a surprise. And here, and Dan mentioned, who did you mention off the top, Dan? Baltimore with Joe Flacco. Why not Jacksonville and Blake Bortles? He barely hung onto his job to start the season, and they ended up making the AFC Championship game. So that's a possibility too. Orlando, you got one more?
Yeah. So I was going to say the Cincinnati Bengals.
No. Cut his mic. Cut his mic. No, Andy Dalton is the man. I was 1 year early.
Yeah, you burned me. You burned me. I took your advice. I didn't take him to the 15th round in the draft, and he burned me. He burned me. So I am not listening to you about Andy Dalton.
That's why you got to listen to the champ, Orlando. The champ.
15th round, though. Give me a break. It ain't like he gave up a lot. 15th round.
No, I'm just saying. I thought I was striking gold here. No, that's what you were talking about, Brandon. I was striking gold. That's what I took it as.
Blame
I felt
Marvin
like I hit the lotto.
Lewis.
Everything going on. I mean, with the words of AJ McCarron leaving, I mean, it wouldn't be surprised me to see the Bengals are probably gonna take a quarterback, but if you would think that they would go a shock, you take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, it wouldn't be a shocker with the way the train wreck of the way the team has been lately.
Yep, I gotta agree with that. So, great NFL conversation, guys. We'll leave that right there. So, coming up next, we got some NBA talk, some Fergie talk, some baseball fantasy sleepers, and some Olympics talk coming up next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Thank you. Appreciate it. Brandon Reed, Dan Schalk, and we were finally joined by our man from San Ann, Orlando Torres. And you missed the breaking news. Anyway, that Dan reported on the podcast. I know you got it because you got all the Twitter feeds and notifications sent to you. But Kawhi Leonard's done.
Yeah. No, I've heard about it. I don't know how to react. Yeah, I've heard about it. I mean, it's pretty much it. I mean, the Spurs are still going to have to fight for the playoff lives. I mean, but without Kawhi, healthy Kawhi, that's pretty much it.
So you also missed the conversation with me and Dan as we talked about not damn one of us watched not damn minutes of the whole NBA AllStar Weekend. Not nan.
Yeah, no, I was with you. I didn't even tune in to AllStar Weekend at all. Nothing. Celebrity game, 3-point shootout, slam dunk, nothing. All I know is that Team LeBron won.
Did you at least watch the clips of the dunk contest that I submitted in the chat group today?
I didn't get to. But I saw
oh my God, what am I doing this for, Dan? I summarized the whole dunk contest in 3 minutes for you guys.
Yeah.
That's how much we care.
I love the NBA. It's just, man.
That's what I said. Is that where we're at? That's what I said. It's my favorite sport. Is that where we're at? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
Okay, well, let's move on. Fergie. This is a question from the NBA. Fergie. Or it's a statement. I don't know. It just says Fergie. That's the title. We all saw it. I don't know. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know who got her high before practice.
Was she drunk?
Yeah, I don't know who she was smoking weed with before the game or before the practice of the All-Star Weekend, but she went out there on this rendition of the national anthem, and she got slammed for it. And it wasn't necessarily her singing, and I can even back away from it and say, you got balls for even trying a rendition like that, but it didn't go over well with anybody, not nobody that I've heard or seen. So what did we think about it? Dan, you picked the question out. Did you at least see that part of it or hear about that part of it?
I did watch that. That was my only NBA All-Star Game experience, and it was rough.
Did the fiance Marissa Caruso see that? And is she a Fergie fan?
I did show it to her. She just kind of looked there, speechless. wasn't really sure what's going on. My biggest thing is Fergie came out and said she was, touching with her inner artistic side and went with her artistic style. I just don't get why singers can do a different rendition and they call that art. This was not art. This was worse than like a 3-year-old's finger painting. Wow. It was bad. So I don't know, but I enjoyed the question. The question made me laugh as much as Fergie's rendition did. So just Fergie. And that's it. So it was questionable and scary. So I hope that never happens again.
#Fergatrocious. That's what I saw. Hey, Orlando, Colin Kaepernick told her afterwards, stop disrespecting the national anthem like that.
Yeah, that's going to be bad, right, when Cap's telling you not to disrespect the flag like that. Yeah, no, it was – I couldn't believe what I was saying. It was horrible. I did not expect that from Fergie. So I don't know. I just kept thinking the only thing was maybe the plan was for her to lip sync it, and maybe someone in the back didn't help her out there also. She was forced to sing it out there. And that was my only assumption. I have no idea why the hell she would sign on or what. I don't know what happened. Maybe she was sick that day. I have no idea, but it was horrible. And just looking at the players' reactions as she's doing the anthem just says it all. Just says it all.
Yeah, they were laughing. They could not contain their laughter, an outburst of laughter. Like Draymond Green and Steph Curry, they just couldn't contain it. And I don't know. And I didn't really mind at first the drum beat, doing a little bit different rendition, but then it just went off to left field somewhere that I just did not get. But anyway, good attempt. It was something different, I guess. So let's get into another question. And now I'm glad Orlando's back here because this one really ties in well. And this is the first thing I was thinking when I'm reading this question is it really kind of the whole answer to this question kind of hangs on the balance of whether or not Kawhi Leonard is going to play this year to me. And now we know he's not. So this one comes from Alex Moore. 12-man category league, which side would you rather have? Kyle Anderson and Tyreke Evans or Evan Fournier and Danilo Gallinari? Orlando, I'll let you go first. So one of them is your boy now, Kyle Anderson, who's going to have to take a lot of the Spurs load, and Tyreke Evans, which Dan has his fingers crossed. Or would you take Evan Fournier and Danilo Gallinari?
No, I got to stick with the Kyle Anderson and Tyreke Evans side. Only because Evan Fournier is nice, but Gallinari could never stay healthy. You just, when he's out for chunks of games. And the guy could play. The guy is a good player with LA, but when he's hurt and when he's not on your team, it's just hurting you. So you're basically getting a 2-for-1 deal if you make that trade. You just don't know when Gallinari is going to be producing for you. So that alone makes it simple for me. So Kyle Anderson and Tyreke Evans is the way I would stay.
I'm kind of going the other way, although I wrote my response before the news of Kawhi Leonard out for the season. But I'll give you the reasoning is because I do like Kyle Anderson, and without Kawhi Leonard playing this year, then yes, he is going to have to produce a lot on the offense end because Rudy Gay is not even healthy right now too. So a lot of opportunities for Kyle Anderson. But the reason I was going with Fournier and Gallinari is because I was just hoping that Gallinari is finally healthy and ready to produce for the Clippers. And Fournier is going to be in the mix with the Magic in their scoring mix. So I'm seeing minutes from these guys. I'm seeing production consistently from these guys. I didn't know that Kawhi Leonard was out for the time, so I was kind of up in the air about Kyle Anderson and Tyreke. I know what's going to happen with Tyreke Evans is the Grizzlies are going to try to squash him as much as they can. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But now I've almost kind of flipped, Dan. I don't know. With Kawhi being out, Rudy Gay being out, You can't just lean on LaMarcus Aldridge 100% for all the scoring, and Kyle Anderson is going to do work. And if Tyreke even gets in the game for 15 minutes, if they even allow him 15 minutes, he's probably going to get 20 points. So it's a difficult decision. I'm still probably going to go with Fournier and Gallinari, but it's a more difficult decision now.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually leaning Tyreke and Kyle Anderson, before we started the podcast, and then you come here and crush my dreams telling me that the Grizzlies probably aren't going to play Tyreke Evans, which I wasn't expecting. I thought
or Marc Gasol. My argument is sit Marc Gasol more and let Tyreke play. Either way, they just don't want to win games, so counterproductive.
Yeah, I mean, if Tyreke Evans isn't going to get the run that he's been getting before his benching to be traded,
definitely not going to get that. Definitely not.
Then I mean, I would probably lean the other side, just because you can't really trust Tyreke game in, game out like you usually could to start the year. So that's the only reason for it. I mean, if Tyreke had his normal, workload, I would definitely say Anderson and Evans. But it sounds from New Breed, who's close to the Memphis action, then I would go Gallo and Fournier.
There you go. Thanks for the question. That was Alex Moore. Let's move on. We're going to talk baseball real quick. This one comes from Jameis Sampson. Any fantasy baseball sleeper to keep an eye out for? And right off the top, I'm not going to get real deep at all, but Cardinals. Cardinals is the big thing around here. So a couple of guys I had right off the top were, of course, Tommy Pham and Paul DeYoung. So, and those were backed up by several articles that I saw when looking up fantasy baseball sleepers for the 2018 season. And so right off the top, the Cardinals do have two potential ones right there.
Yeah. With Pham, I don't know how much of a sleeper that's gone. I've done some mock drafts. He's going in the first 3 rounds.
There you go.
Quick. So people are on the Pham train, and rightfully so. I mean, hits for contact power, and he can steal some bases too. A couple names that I have. This is a little bit more deep. Some of these guys haven't even been drafted yet in the league that I'm in, and we're in the 13th round. But a couple names that I have is David Dahl. I was high on him last year, but he's Colorado's Rockies outfielder that was basically injured all of last year, but he's a promising guy who's supposedly 100% back being healthy. And anytime you can get an outfielder who hits for power in Coors Field, it's good for your fantasy team. So I like David Dahl this year to be the number 1 outfielder in fantasy on that Rockies team, where you got names like Ian Desmond, to join that mix. Another guy that I have, this is going to be a deeper one, is Mike Minor. The Rangers signed him in the offseason to a 2-year deal. Minor was a young prospect stud with the Braves many years ago. Injuries derailed his career, and he kind of showed back up again in Kansas City as a reliever. And he did great last year, I think, at 2.85 ERA. And he did fantastic for them, and that parlayed that into this contract with the Rangers. And the Rangers intend to use him as a starter. So he's right now penciled in as the number 2 starter in Texas. And so he's going to get the starts. And if he can replicate his success from last year, he's a deep guy. You're talking round 13 in my 12-team keeper league right now, and he hasn't been drafted yet. So he's a guy to keep an eye out for. One that hits close to home is Yuli Gurriel, the first baseman. I actually just drafted him not too long ago in this league, but he's a guy who almost hits 300. He'll give you 20 to 25 home runs, 70 to 80 RBIs. And he's a productive member of that unit in Houston, and he's not being drafted like that. I mean, I think he was the 19th first baseman drafted in this draft that I'm in, and that's just shocking because he performed as a top 5 first baseman last year. So definitely Yuli Gurriel is going. His ADP is definitely worth where he's being drafted. And the last guy on this list I added in because I did draft him. Those who were listening in the beginning of the show know I'm doing a draft right now, and I just drafted Maikel Franco, third baseman of the Phillies. Yep. He had a down year last year, hit about 230, but he's a guy who can hit 30 home runs, driving 100 RBIs. So I like him for a bounce back year, and I mean that's fantastic value this late in drafts if he's going to go there ADP wise for that bounce back year. Maikel Franco, Brandon.
Breaking news.
Breaking
news.
Yep.
Oh, another guy I saw on the sleeper list is, okay, Dan, if you tell me, was I a year early? Am I a year late? Is this even a possibility? It was Evan Gaddis. Seriously? Is he a sleeper?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with Gaddis is he's you ran into this last year. He's just not consistently in the lineup.
He only plays half the time.
Supposedly this year he's going to be the full-time DH now with Carlos Beltran gone. But I need to see it to believe it. If that's true, if he's the full-time DH, heck yes. He's definitely worth it because he can hit some bombs, but he just needs to get in the lineup every day to be able to be worth it.
Yep. All right. That's early fantasy baseball talk brought to you by Jameis Sampson. Appreciate the question. The next one comes from Brandon Taylor. Favorite Olympic sport to watch? Orlando, you got a little bit of snow in San Antonio this year, so did that put you in the Winter Olympic fever? Have you been watching?
Actually, yeah, I caught a little bit of it. But regardless of winter, I've always loved snowboarding. And I know Shaun White was a big part of that. And, growing up as a kid, I used to love skating, skateboarding, and biking. And although Shaun White wasn't a skater, he did skate a little bit, but I've always kept up with a guy like Shaun White, and seeing him still kill it, especially in the snowboarding, has always been fun for me. It's just like still holding on to a piece of childhood, because I remember him watching him in the 7th grade, just shredded, this redhead guy just come out there and shred it. And now seeing as he's already an older man, and he's still going out there and shredding it.
He was probably about in the 7th grade then too, Orlando.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And like, he feels like an older man. It's like I grew up with them, so just still seeing him go out there and shred it, just like that I was watching him with my friends. When I was in 7th grade with my skateboard in my hand, it hits home. So it feels, snowboarding's always been a big part, and so I loved enjoying that part, and it felt great seeing a guy like Shaun White go out there and just kill it again.
Well, I'll tell you, just to answer the question simply, favorite Olympic sports to me is basketball. Soccer. I haven't watched 1 second. File this in the category of the NBA All-Star Weekend. I have not watched 1 second of the Winter Olympics.
Y'all are crazy, man.
I don't care. I don't care. If I'm not going to watch this in 6 months from now, and 8 months from now, and 10 months from now, why would I watch it now? I don't care that the American flag is attached to it. I don't get into patriotism like that. I just don't get into these sports, which I don't care anything about. Hockey, I don't watch the NHL. Why am I going to watch it now? Any of these snowboarding events, I just don't care. I don't watch the Winter Olympics or the X Games every single year. Why would I watch now? So I don't care. I don't get into it. I don't care. Haven't watched 1 second. Probably won't. Although Dan said he has. So you take on the expert opinion here of the Winter Olympics, Dan.
I've honestly watched probably 15 to 30 hours of Olympic coverage since it started. I love it. I enjoy the Summer Olympics a little bit more, but Winter Olympics, I get down to biathlon. Biathlon is extremely fun to watch for me. I just like the skiing and the shooting, and then the penalties, and there's short track, long track. Just in the biathlon, alpine skiing, I get down with the downhill, the Super G, the slalom. I've watched it all. Lindsey Vonn went last night, Michaela Schifrin before. But it's not even that. Like, I like all the other countries, the wipeouts that can happen on the downhill course. I've gotten big into curling this Olympics. I've watched full matches from end 1 to end 11, which is overtime in curling. It stops at 10, but you go to 11 if it's still a tie. So
that's one of the more popular ones to me, and I find it a little bit intriguing if there's highlights or something on, because I find it so stupid. It's the craziest damn sport of everything. What is with the sweeping? Duplicating that in their home. I don't know if you saw this clip, but there was a woman like sweeping. I don't know. It's crazy. It's the craziest damn thing to me.
Yeah, so I've gotten into that. And speed skating, I'm a big speed skating guy, and short track, long track there, and bobsled, skeleton, luge. I get into it all, and so I've enjoyed these Olympics. The U.S. has disappointed greatly, but Norway, man, those Norwegians, they know how to handle their winter sports, and the domination from the Norwegians is impressive.
I think you've just been sick with the flu, Dan. You've been stuck in bed,
That's
and
why I watch so much too. Yeah.
the fever has got you, and you've been sweating it out with the Winter Olympiads in South Korea. So it's a different story for a different day. Though I'm sorry, man. Call me unpatriotic or whatever. I just don't care about these winter sports. I grew up in the South, so I don't care. I don't get it. But, since we had no foodie question this week, we're going to end the show like this, man. I'm just going to ask you guys. I don't know if you've eaten dinner yet, but what's for dinner? What's for dinner, Orlando?
I'm actually going to go by friends, and I get together with a couple friends sometimes, and we'll have a dinner and wine night, basically. But they stick to the wine, I'll stick to the craft beers. But today on the menu, his wife is making some honey soy chicken. I've never had it, but she said it's one of her top 5 dishes, and he said no, it's one of her top 3 dishes. So I will be the judge of that. I mean, her cooking is amazing anyway.
I need a red eye to San Antonio quickly. That sounds good as hell.
Yeah. So I was like, I never had honey soy chicken, so I'm going to go try that right now in a bit. They're actually texting me like, hey, what time are you getting here? I was like, I'll be there in a little bit. Don't worry.
Well, I'm not going to speak for Dan, but I can speak for myself. And your night sounds like it's about to get a whole lot hell of a better than mine. I don't know, Dan. What's on the menu? You're on the East Coast. You may already had dinner. What was for dinner, or what's going to happen for dinner?
No, I did not eat that. I'm starving right now. 8:30 East Coast time. I saw you post this question earlier, and I thought about it. And on our previous podcast, we've gave lovely shout outs to my fiance who has listened and enjoyed them. So I thought long and hard about this. My answer to this question is whatever the woman is making.
Safest answer, yeah. So is she even going to make you dinner at 9 p.m. Eastern time, Dan?
Well, I hope she hears this to get to cooking. That's come on now.
Get to cooking.
Yeah, get to cooking. I put a ring on it so I get some food on the table, right? This is only going to get me in trouble. I'm just kind of messing, but yeah, I don't have any plans. Probably a turkey sandwich if Marissa does see this and refuses to cook.
Just keep it simple. Well, that's me. That's me. I don't have a lovely Marissa Caruso to make me dinner. So to me, before I start editing this podcast you're seeing, man, it's probably going to be a tuna melt. What that is, I'm basically about to put some wheat bread in the oven with some tuna fish, white chunk albacore, though, the good stuff. I don't mess around with the cheap stuff. White chunk albacore. And some Colby Jack cheese, lay that over there and melt that for about 10 minutes, and that's going to be my dinner. So nothing special, but that's what's for dinner. So I don't know if that's a disappointment or it gives you guys any thoughts, but Orlando wins. Honey soy chicken or whatever he was talking about.
Hey, don't worry, because if it wasn't for that invite, I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably be eating some bologna and cheese with some chips.
Oh, I've seen what Orlando schemes up in a bowl.
Yeah, hey, whatever I could find, just it's poured together.
Craziness. But Dylan Davis Trotto would be proud of that garbage bowl you made the other night.
Yeah.
So that's it. Dan, last words for the peeps at home?
NFL draft. Just go to the site and look. It's there. And enjoy. Right, and send me hate, man. I've been getting a lot of hate on Luke Falk. He's a terrible quarterback. He's terrible. So stop sending me hate that I am not a fan of his. He's not good.
Played for Washington State, right?
Washington State. All-time Pac-12 career passing leader.
How did the last big Washington State quarterback work out in the NFL?
He did better for the drug dealers.
Well, there you go. And I honestly never heard of the guy. I don't watch Pac-12 football, but I honestly never heard of the guy. But if you think he's going to somehow leapfrog and be better than one of the other 6 guys Dan named in the podcast previously, I think you're crazy. That's it. Got to check out the website, myfantasysportstalk.com. Draft profiles out the yin-yang leading up to our live draft coverage on draft night. So that's going to do it for this episode. Glad Orlando Torres could stop by and drop some knowledge and make us all jealous with his dinner plans for the rest of the night. And my co-host, Dan Sharp. I am Brandon Reed. Until next week, see you later, podcast peeps. Peace.